Hi everyone, I am Chelsey from Lighthearted Kitchen. Today I want to kick off our YouTube channel with a little bit about me, how we started, and all of our frequently asked questions are going to get answered today. So let's jump right in. The question we get asked the most is how we started. So almost 3 years ago now, we started with our very first dinner party. It was in my backyard. I realized that there just really wasn't enough dining experiences out there that were truly 100% organic, locally sourced, and experiences that had the utmost quality with food. I had mentored under some farm-to-table chefs that I really looked up to in the area, and they did a really great job at bringing a culinary experience to the table, but what I felt like was lacking was the educational piece that connected the food and the farmers to the person and the guest sitting at the table. I felt like every time I went to a restaurant, there wasn't really a chef that came out and explained where the food was coming from and why it was important to understand where the food's coming from and who grew that food. So we started with a dinner party in June of 2022, and it was just friends and family to start. I was definitely really nervous at the beginning. I think I cried when I served the first course as well, but it was truly such a full circle moment for me because I had known for so long that I wanted to have a farm-to-table dining experience, and I really wanted to bring that educational aspect. So we started with a friends and family dinner. It was in my backyard. We had picnic tables spread across the driveway, and it was just a really special dinner that I feel like I really got to show off my 5-course skills using all locally sourced organic produce. And then from there, it just kind of snowballed into a goal that I had set for myself after that dinner, which was to host one ticketed experience every single month, which I thought would probably only take one day out of the whole month to do. And it ended up taking what felt like a full-time job because I ended up spending so much time reaching out to vendors and other local purveyors that could help bring these tables to life. We were constantly popping up in a different location. Sometimes we would go in a coffee shop after hours, basically set up an entire restaurant as a pop-up for one day and then tear it all down. So that's a little bit about how we started. I would say it started from those ticketed experiences where people would come from all over as strangers, sit at the table, and then leave as friends and get to experience a real educational dinner where they got to learn about the nutrient benefits in every course and where their food was coming from, where they could source their food from then on, and how to cook with really nutrient-dense ingredients. My cooking background is not what I feel like most people would expect. I'm actually just a self-taught cook, and when I mentored under those chefs in the area, I realized that I went back and forth on culinary school for a while, and I realized that I didn't want that same background. I wanted to serve food that I would cook for myself. So my background started with me actually becoming vegan when I was 16, and my family was like, we're not cooking multiple meals for this family, so you're gonna go to the grocery store, buy all your own ingredients, and cook all your own meals from here on out. So right when I turned 16 is when I learned how to cook for myself and start experimenting with plant-forward ingredients. And it really led me to reading ingredient labels. And I will never forget the countless grocery trips that I would take at 16, reading ingredients and figuring out what I was really buying, because a lot of the vegan ingredients or vegan products had a lot of fillers and gums and non-organic ingredients that I wasn't really okay with using or serving myself. So that's kind of where my background started. I had moved to LA and was living alone for a year. And in that lonely time, I genuinely found such a love for cooking. I would stay up super late at night just cooking for myself, and even if I Tupperwared it and put it in the fridge, it was just an experimental time of my life where I feel like I really learned a lot. And in finding out that what I really wanted to do was help educate others was the moment I realized I also didn't want to be vegan anymore. I didn't want to be restrictive. I wanted to see food as fuel and medicine and be able to use every ingredient that was just going to fuel my body the best that it could. And I found that really well-sourced ingredients were what was going to be best for my body. So then experimenting with meat again after 6 years of being vegan was a whole process, but I do think the intention that I had for myself and my own health really led to just a lot of growth when it came to cooking and cooking for others. Okay, my tips for someone else looking to start a farm-to-table business would definitely be to start before you're ready. It was literally the quote that was pasted on my home screen on my phone for the entire year that I started. I didn't feel ready, and I even asked those mentors if they liked my idea, if they thought it would work. And I think after cooking with them for a while, they were like, you know what you're doing, and you have a dream and a passion, and that's what really matters. So just go for it and see what happens. And I think looking back, I would have never known if it would have worked if I didn't try it, right? So I think I'm a big proponent of just start before you're ready. Even if it doesn't feel like it'll be perfect, just try it. If you have a dream and a passion that's always going to bring you back to your why, you'll never give up. I think people who start businesses that don't have a true why is when it gets really hard, because business is really, really hard sometimes, and being an entrepreneur is a really challenging road to take. You are your own boss, and you have to, come up with a plan and push yourself every day. So I would just say, as an entrepreneur, have a why and stick with it. So mine is definitely to educate people on the benefits of like a truly holistic lifestyle, but also a nutrient-dense diet. Every time things have gotten hard, I've just gone back to how good it feels to educate people, and how amazing and fulfilling it is to stand at the head of a table and explain to people like the love that went into their meal and the benefits of eating that meal. And even when they get to walk away and say, I tried something and I liked something that I had never tried before, and I'm so glad I came because I made a new friend. Like, those things are truly what make it all worth it. So my biggest tip would be to have a why and start before you're ready. The hardest thing about the industry, I would say in the beginning, for me, it was definitely overcoming the fear that I didn't have enough credibility or chef experience because I am self-taught. I do think it was really hard to not compare myself to other chefs that might have 25 plus years, in cooking school. And I do think most people would say in the chef industry, you do need a lot of experience. And I think paving a new path was really, really hard. And also paving a new path in the way that I wanted to make this dining experience educational. It wasn't really something I'd felt like was done before. And I think people don't just come to our dinners for a really good meal. I think they come for that experience and the trusting that their ingredients are of great quality. So I think comparison is always hard in any industry, but the chef industry, the dining experience industry, especially the organic and natural food industry, the cost can be so high, and reminding yourself that it's worth it, and the right people that see the value of what you're providing will come through at no matter what. And just reminding yourself that if you have a true why, it's worth it, but to not compare yourself to other people that might have more years of experience or might have, let's say, a bigger profit margin because they're selling a lower quality product. My favorite time of year for cooking is probably right at the end of spring, going into summer. I've always loved like summer squashes and peaches and berries. The fruits that come at that time are just so good in every single course. And I feel like there's so much versatility, especially when you start getting heirloom tomatoes. I feel like the produce is so vibrant during that time. I love snap peas and cucumbers and lemons, and I just think that sweet spot, but right there at the end of spring, beginning of summer, especially in Southern California and in our growing zone, is such like a vibrant, beautiful time for produce. My favorite brand that we've worked with so far has been Primely Pure, for sure. I think our values are so aligned. Their team is incredible, and I feel like they also take an educational approach. And I also love the way that they do podcast style videos now. It's just so inspiring to see a woman-led business also taking charge and making a big statement and a big change in the skincare industry, which for a long time hasn't been about soil to skin, and that is like one of their big things, and it's so aligned with our branding. So I think being able to provide food for their events or their team that's farm to table for their regenerative soil to skin company just works so great. We did an event on their farm actually one time, and we served so much of the produce and the meat from their regenerative farm, which was just top notch. And if you know, our dream is to have a farm one day too, so it honestly just felt like the perfect marrying of brands. One thing I wish I would have done before I started. That's a hard one, because for me, I'm a firm believer in the fact that everything is happening for a reason and there are no accidents. So I feel like I'm really happy with where things are now. But I would say in the beginning, I was pretty resistant to having help. I do think I was in the position of like, oh, I can do these dinners on my own, and setting up a table for 25 people with the chairs and the plates, and then cooking the 5 courses and serving it all and then cleaning it all up by myself was definitely something that I didn't need to do in the beginning. So I would say asking for help is not a bad thing ever. There are so many people that have the same vision or passion, and I realized when I started reaching out for help that there were so many people ready to even just volunteer and be a part of something. So I'm really glad that I did share our mission so early on, because so many people did resonate with it, but I think I could have definitely asked for help a little bit earlier. Our next public event. For public events, we don't have a date yet, but we have quite a few things in the works. One of the harder parts of doing public experiences is finding a venue in a space that has an industrial kitchen and probably tables and chairs that is like willing to let us come into their space and pop up. So if you know of any, you can always let us know. If you want to host us on your space, let us know. We definitely want to tap into more of the weekend retreat space soon and be able to bring people together again, because we've definitely been more of the private event space for a while, so we're ready to jump back into that. But stay tuned for dates coming soon. We've been running the business for 2.5, almost 3 years now. And I would say how long it took me to get started, I probably had the idea at least 9 months to a year before I did start. So I think in fall of 2021, I created a little logo, I got the LLC, and then it wasn't until June of 2022 that I actually hosted that first dinner for family and friends. So I would say probably a full year before we went from idea in my head to really selling ticketed experiences. Okay, how to know your worth when it comes to tickets and pricing. I would say that what we're doing is such a high value experience. Like we talked about, everything is 100% organic, and we've spent so much time creating relationships with our local farms that are regenerative, our farmers markets, being able to buy wholesale from them. And I think all of that time and energy goes into the value of our ticket price, right? As well as the actual cost of the food being as regenerative as we can find it and 100% organic, as well as our chefs that also pour love into everything they touch. So that is also something that I think is priceless, and something, like I was saying, that cooked with intention is a lot different than having chef experience. I think when you have members of your team that are personally going out and foraging for black sage is definitely different than just buying something at your local grocery store. We honestly try to stay away from grocery store shopping as much as possible to make sure that those ingredients really are nutrient dense and being close to harvest time. The question is, what would be on the menu if I had a restaurant? And this is something that I've always told people that is probably a little unbelievable, but I've really never made the same exact thing twice. I genuinely, for every single dinner we've had, It was over, I think, 68 events last year. Every single menu was different. There wasn't one dinner where we just copy and pasted anything. I think the most beautiful thing about cooking is going to the farmer's market or getting a basket from your local farmer of everything they just harvested and creating a menu off of that. So if I had a restaurant, we would also have a farm. Hopefully they would be on the same property. We would walk outside, we would harvest whatever is at peak ripeness, and we would create a menu based off that. And for most of our experiences, the guests never knew what was on the menu coming either. So it was always somewhat of a surprise, which I kind of love because I think it just connects you with it even more when you're there because you're really curious. You want to read the menu, you want to listen to the chef explaining what it is and the nutrient benefits. So I think it really adds to the experience. And I realized in doing so, there was truly no way I could even come up with that menu the day before if I was going to go harvest the ingredients the morning of, because sometimes, you know, the zucchini didn't come all the way to peak ripeness, so you're just not going to use that. So that's how I would create a menu at my restaurant. How many people do we have on the team? Right now we have 8 people. We've definitely fluctuated and tried out different numbers and what works for us. We've had event designers, different servers, sous chefs, head chefs, production assistants, social media, but we've scaled back down a little bit. So we have that A team of girls that are able to work together and create that flow together every single event rather than the team changing every single time we do one. Okay, that was all the questions for today. Thank you guys so much for listening and tuning in. If you enjoyed it or you have any more questions, say hi or drop them in the comments. I'm so excited about this new YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to be dropping new recipes and holistic living tips, how to source regenerative produce, what's in season every month. So if there's anything else you want to see, yeah, drop it in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.